Kvaratskhelia steadying himself! A star in the making. And there's the only goal! Sabiri with it! After 11 years, once again, Milan are the champions of Italy.
Ciao ragazzi, and welcome to another edition of Serie, Sitdown, a podcast of World Football Index for your Calcio to go. I'm Franck Ribery. He's Richard Carmen. Ciao, Richard.
Ciao, Frank. How are we doing on this Champions League Tuesday?
Well, I'm pouring myself a cold one
right.
in celebration of Milan winning big at Dinamo Zagreb, which we said would happen here at the Serie Sitdown.
Yes. Thanks to Apex and Chelsea for winning today as well.
Yep. And doing exactly the way we thought this would get mapped out. Now they're in control of their destiny. Draw Salzburg, and they go through. Also, maybe could be. I don't like wasting a good beer, but some people like doing that where they pour a little on the ground for my. This is for Juventus' Champions League campaign. Just my imaginary beer that I'm spilling on the ground for them.
Yeah.
Oh.
Keep it imaginary. We don't want to waste a good beer on them.
No, you never want to waste a good beer, especially Spotted Cow.
Yeah.
Nectar of the gods, baby. Incredible reaction from the chat on Sunday, and then also from those out in Calcio Twitter with our signing of Alex Dono. We're excited to have him on, but as his contract stipulates, he gets to work a day and then he gets to take vacation.
This is why we hate Juan Lanaro.
These Miami guys, I tell you,
These Miami guys, always on vacation.
Yeah, just is it not enough that you get like 80-degree weather all the time and beaches and palm trees and stuff while we're up here in the north? It's raining and 50 up here where I am, but I digress. So I digress. Anyway, we have a lot to unpack here on Serie Sit-Down. There were great games, obviously, over the weekend. We're going to give that their special segment, 3 of them, in fact. We're going to look at the rest of match week 11, break down what we saw, what we thought, talk about some players here that we've been talking about for a while, and they keep turning up. And if you're just coming around to saying, hey, that guy's pretty good, well, you should have been listening to us all along, because we're the ones that tell you when they're good before they start to blow up. So Pasquale Mazzocchi, first and foremost. But anyway, let's dive into Europe here first, Richard. Milan, very impressive at Dinamo Zagreb, and we had a feeling that they could do this. Pioli smartly rotates in the Monza game to have them prepared to play this game. We thought that Zagreb's 2 previous home games in this league stage was kind of a smoke and mirrors thing. Yeah, they beat Chelsea, but they beat a Chelsea that ended up being Tuchel's last game, and we learned that Chelsea practically quit on Tuchel. And then, Raheem Sterling in particular, I've never seen a player play so greedy, than Raheem Sterling played in that game. And then, Potter's obviously turned that around a little bit, but then the Salzburg game ending in a draw, which made you think this really isn't that something that we have to get overly concerned about. And Milan can go there and get the job done. And the one thing that we did say when we looked at this game was Zagreb don't have a single player there that can keep pace with Rafael Leao today. And what did Rafael Leao do today? He took them to the fucking races, as he's been doing with a lot of teams. He's been doing with a lot of defenders this year. Yeah. But talk about what you observed from Milan's thrashing of Dinamo Zagreb.
I wanted to see what kind of intensity they were going to bring. We saw the 2 games at Chelsea, and that had to sting them, though they know that those results were going to impact them in the long run. What mattered was what they do against Zagreb, what they do against Salzburg, and what team would show up. Depending on what we saw, is where we're going to get a good indication of, is this Milan ready for the next round? And they went to Zagreb, a team that hasn't lost at home in 31 matches, 18 months or something crazy like that. And it started out a little tight. I mean, there's obviously some guys like Petkovic and Orsic you got to worry about. But Milan, they had a bunch of backups in there, and they did the job. They were, I'm not going to say dominant, but they clinical. They did what they had to do. There was very professional win by them. And they did their job. that's all they had to do, and that's what they did. They weren't too flashy or too crazy. Obviously, having Leao helps, right? Rebic, I thought, was pretty good as well. But yeah, good performance all the way around, and a nice thrashing of Dynamo Zagreb, who are difficult at home at times, but in this game they made him. I forget who made the commentary. Maybe it was Score FC that said that Zagreb looked like they hadn't won in 31 games. That's how bad Milan beat them. So impressive win by Milan, and now everything's in control, like they said. They just got to get a draw against Salzburg at the least, and then they're through, which is what all they want is to go through.
Exactly. Had to be happy for the boy, Matteo Gabbia, who I think has been like under the radar, playing pretty well, in relief and having to step in and do some spot duty at the center back position. So nice to see him open the scoring and get himself into position there on a great ball by Tonali. Giroud scoring the penalty, and I believe the last goal was an own goal. And then at that point, Pioli could call off the dogs. It was like Giroud, Leao, and Teo Hernandez all off at once.
I mean, the Ketelare came off in like the 50th minute,
Yep. I actually had a beautiful DraftKings build going for Champions League. I had Leao, Mbappe, Messi, and Giroud.
Not bad.
But I had Szczesny in goal. So
can't get them all right.
That didn't work out particularly well. I had a feeling. I sat there and I said, well, you know what? They're going to have Gatti and Bonucci back there, so Benfica's going to get off some shots, and maybe Szczesny stands on his head, and that's what I went for. But I should have reminded myself that's Bonucci and Gatti back there. Those two selections alone should be enough to get.
They were.
What's that?
They are who we thought they were.
Yes, they are who we. In the words of the late great Dennis Green, they are who we thought they were, and that did not go well. Well, it went. I still made some money on that lineup. My upward mobility was curbed because of Szczesny having a negative score because he gave up more goals than he saved. But we saw Bonucci and Gatti in that starting team and thought this is not going to go well with what Benfica offer going forward. It did not go well. Benfica ran out to a 4-1 lead. Juve does come back through Milik and then through McKennie to make it 4-3 and make it reasonably interesting. But at the end of the day, Benfica win. We thought Benfica would win this game. And Juventus subsequently are out of Champions League contention with one group game remaining, have a goal difference advantage over Maccabi Haifa as far as the Europa League place. They finish up with PSG on match day 6. I mean, there's no sugarcoating this with Juventus. It's Juventus, and on brand name, this is an abject failure. But this entire group stage campaign with Juventus has just been disgusting. Your thoughts on it? I mean, another disappointing performance from them. Tried to get something out of it there late in the game, but too little, too late. Just a very, very disappointing 5-game stretch for the old lady, and right now look to be the one Italian team out of the 4 that's not going to go through.
Yeah. It's been very disappointing just as a Serie A fan to see Juventus do this badly. We looked at the groups coming into this and we said, oh, they should get through, but Benfica is dangerous. Little did they know Maccabi Haifa was dangerous, even though we mentioned that. It's extremely disappointing. It goes back to, is Allegri hiring him to come back the right move? And it looks like no every week, every game. It's kind of corrected it in Serie A, right? But in Champions League, they look out of their element. And I mean, they're in Europa League, and that's not what they wanted. But they need to be careful here, because if they throw in the books here against PSG can score 7 goals, and the goal difference is only 6 at the moment, right? So you embarrass yourself in front of PSG, not only you're kissing Europa League goodbye, you're kissing everything goodbye. And if Allegri isn't out by then, he will be after that game. So
I'll line out characteristically why this game was a disaster waiting to happen. Bonucci and Gatti aside. Look at these midfields, okay? And let's take away McKennie, Locatelli, Rabiot. Okay, that works against Empoli.
Yes.
Okay, that does not work against Benfica. 3 of the same guy in the Champions League in your midfield doesn't work. Doesn't work. You got to have a mix. Look at Benfica. Enzo Fernandez does a little bit of everything, and he also takes set pieces. Florentino Luis was the stopper. Won a couple balls. Didn't get himself into too much trouble. And then you've got the blend of talent. Joao Mario seems to be doing everything for them. Rafa Silva scoring twice. Just dynamic, and guys like Luis and Enzo Fernandez gives him an opportunity to have some freedom going forward. And then this Frednik Arsnes, am I pronouncing it right?
Sounds good.
Another guy that's got a blend of everything, incredibly combative and all of this other stuff. Now, I just explained a bunch of different characteristics within the midfield of Benfica. I look at McKennie, Locatelli, Rabiot. They're the same guy.
Yeah.
That doesn't work in Europe. All right. Why has Napoli been so successful in the group stages? Because they're not playing the same guys in midfield. Lobotka is a stopper, can do some deep lying playmaking. Zielinski is the attacking midfielder. And then I can't remember who the third man is out of that group that they generally start. I'm sorry. Anguissa. Another stopper, and then another guy that will at times get into the penalty area. Juventus doesn't have any midfield stoppers.
Yeah.
Okay? You can't go to Lisbon with McKennie, Locatelli, and Rabiot and ask them to protect a back 3 of Gatti, Bonucci, and Danilo. It's just setting yourself up for disaster.
Suicidal.
It is. It is. And you look at it right there, and Juventus's failure to mix up what they need characteristically in their midfield has shown up here in this Champions League group stage, and has also in spots shown up in league. They can get away with it against someone like Empoli or someone like Cremonese or somebody like that. You can't get away with that traveling to Lisbon playing Benfica. You can't get away with that going to Paris playing PSG. Shit, you couldn't get away with it going to Israel playing Maccabi Haifa.
Exactly.
When's he going to change this?
He's stuck in his ways. And I agree with Apex. The mentality of their approach to this game was all wrong. I mean, you go into this game as Apex says, cowardly. You go in there trying to lock up shop and hope you're not gonna allow any goals. Like, you're going to Benfica, who can score goals at home. We've seen it. They can do it on the road. They can do it at home. They don't care. And playing defensively, your team is not built to defend. It's this Allegri 2.0. It just can't defend. And go into mentality into the Lions' den with a team that can score. It's just a recipe for disaster. They should have attacked from the beginning. I guess a better lineup would have helped immensely, right? But they did not attack the game appropriately, and Benfica ate them up for it. And Benfica let off the gas a lot and allowed Juventus back into it. But I mean, it should have been a 4-1, 5-1 game. It could have just been a blown up, a disaster. Had that scoreline remain, maybe Allegri's not even seeing tomorrow, but I don't know. I know Pavel Nedved right now is just screaming somewhere. No women in his sights. He's just get him out. And Agnelli is the guy you got to convince. I don't know if you can. Not at the cost.
Part of the problem is that it's what it's going to cost to get rid of him. I mean, they keep bringing that up over and over and over again. Yeah. They're kind of screwed. I mean, here's the thing. And we're going to talk about McKennie and Rabiot's roles in the Empoli win when we talk about that game later.
Okay.
If you found some kind of midfield stopper and put him in this Juventus team and put him in that front 3 and you played Locatelli to either side of that, I'm convinced, and this is a hot take, I'm convinced we could be talking about Manuel Locatelli as one of the best midfielders in this league. And one of Italy's best midfielders, if you gave him a role like that. But instead, you're asking him to be the center of this 3, where he doesn't have the license to follow the runners, to follow the forwards into the penalty area, to do some of those things, where he excelled in it at Sassuolo. He showed signs of it when he was a younger player at Milan. It's like Allegri saying, no, we need you centrally in front of the back 3, and you can't go that farther forward. And I think that is completely stunting his development. If you had a tackling central midfielder, a ball-winning central midfielder. If you had an Anguissa, okay, in that Juventus team, you could move Locatelli to one of those spots, and you instantly make Locatelli a player that I think would be one of the best midfielders in this league.
Sure.
Because that's his role. That's what he's good at. And Allegri doesn't do that because when part of it is because Allegri doesn't have a guy that can play that role. He doesn't have a tackling midfielder.
In the preseason, going into the season, everyone was all high and mighty on Juventus, all the signings that they made, this and that. And I said, I'm not on the train because the one area concern, or one of the biggest area concerns that I had was the midfield is addressing it. Like you said, McKennie, Rabiot, Locatelli, all the same players. There's no stopper there. There's no really playmaker there. Di Maria, but he's on the wing. Dybala's gone. They didn't address it. So everyone's all high and mighty and all these signings. I'm like, Paul Pogba's not going to do anything. I mean, all these guys you have, they're not going to do anything. Paredes, they could be the guy if he fits into it, but they don't have the right pieces. And yes, guys are hurt, I'm sure. But even if the guys weren't hurt, it would still be the same result. It's just poor tactics, poor setting up. Like you said, that three-man midfield could not cope. Bring in Meret, bring in whoever. You get somebody else a chance. It's just disaster class.
Yeah, it is. It is, and it's not going to get any better. They got to get to January, and they got to get some kind of a stopping midfielder. Hell, get two.
Yeah.
Get one that you can play regularly and one that you can bring in for spot duty. I mean, it's, that's the glaring problem with this Juventus team. Probably wouldn't hurt them to add another defender, too, to their team. I mean, Leonardo Bonucci's done. I mean, he's good for a good long ball once every 5 games, and that's it. That's all you're going to get out of him. He's not what you see with Thiago Silva at Chelsea. Thiago Silva, I was thinking about this today. Thiago Silva had, I think what we're seeing with Thiago Silva in his career, and I know we're talking about Chelsea a little bit, but I want to be quick about this.
Apex will love you.
Yeah, Apex will appreciate this. Thiago Silva is now showing the benefits of having the opportunity to play next to Alessandro Nesta for those first handful of years when he was younger.
Yeah.
Okay. And being, obviously bending an ear for Paolo Maldini whenever Maldini had something to say to him. And even Franco Baresi, who was always hanging around Milanello, from time to time, still does. I think what you're seeing with Thiago Silva at this stage in his career is by comparison with Leonardo Bonucci, is a guy who has learned how to be a veteran defender and knows what his role is and what his responsibilities are going to be and what he can and can't do on a pitch. Okay. Where it looks like Leonardo Bonucci just for years has just never known where his starting points are, never is aware of what's over his back shoulder as far as runs coming into the box, and it doesn't see all those things. What Thiago Silva does everything that Leonardo Bonucci just absolutely doesn't do, fails to do, refuses to do. I don't know what it is, but I'm just looking in comparing veteran defenders. That's what I see.
Bonucci is an interesting character because when the BBC were together, right? Barzagli, Bonucci, and Chiellini, they were one of the best, back trios, at least of that era. And it was good reason. Chiellini is a monster. Barzagli was really good with Juventus, and Bonucci didn't have to rely on the defensive aspect because he had those two guys to back him up. He could worry on the long game, and he was great at the long game.
Mm-hmm.
So that combination of those three guys made a fantastic core. As those guys aged out and kind of inserted new bodies in there, the weaknesses started to come to the front. We saw that when he went to Milan right away. Automatically, you could tell, he's off there. He's not that good. Goes back to Juventus and got a little bit better, right? You got Chiellini, you got some other guys there.
Yeah.
But as those guys aged out, he becomes the star or the centerpiece. And you're seeing, he's not that defensive stalwart we thought he was. He's a good complement, has an excellent passing game. I mean, his passing game is one of the best we've, around. But defensively, he's not that guy who's going to be the core of the back line and marshal it how you want it to be.
Right.
He needed that. That's why he was so good with the BBC. So you have to move on, like you said. You have to move on to find some other guys. And having him with a young guy like Gatti wasn't going to work well. And with that midfield, is added to it.
No. Let's move on to tomorrow. I think
beat a dead horse.
This Juventus Champions League campaign is giving me agita, and I don't even support them. So Inter Pilsen, Inter win, they're in, lock up second in the group. Barcelona host Bayern. So my guess is that Barcelona don't get anything out of the game against Bayern. Probably a draw. At which point you probably still want Inter. You just still want to win to put it away. I think Inter has a 3-point cushion right now in that group?
I believe so.
Over
yes, 3 points.
It's 3 points. Okay, so
goal differential is even at the moment too.
Yeah, I mean, if they match basically if they match Barcelona's result tomorrow, they go through. But Inter's going to beat Pilsen.
They better.
Yeah, they better. You're right. It's going to be one of the earlier games, so it's nice. We get the Serie team staggered tomorrow, which is nice.
Yeah.
I expect the one thing though that I would be concerned about if I'm Inter or if I'm an Inter supporter, which I don't think is going to be a whole lot to be concerned about, is that this is a game where Inter's going to have a lot more of the ball, and we've seen them struggle when they're superior in possession.
Yeah.
So they'll qualify, they'll win, but don't go out here making this assumption that they're going to go out and boat race them by 6, because I don't think they're going to do that. 3-0 probably, but even 3-1, because I could see Pilsen nicking them on the counter when Inter stretches things so much. I mean, if they project this starting lineup and Dumfries starts at right wing back, right off the bat, Pilsen's going to have some things to attack on that side, because Dumfries is just going to want to go forward, and doesn't do a whole lot of recovering. Inzaghi bombs him forward all the time.
Yeah.
DeMarco looks like he's set to start as the left wing back. You got to expect the best possible team for Inter to come out and start. But I'll go 3-0. I won't give Pilsen a goal here, even though it won't surprise me if they score one, but I'll go 3-0 to Inter.
I'll go 2-0. I don't think they're going to score a boatload of goals, like you said. But I am hoping they do a stout enough job defensively that they don't give any goals. So yeah, 2-0, I'll say.
You just have to look at the Shakhtar games a couple of years ago, and I've made comments about that numerous times, where I mean, they just, they had all the possession and all the chances in those games and struggled to score goals. They, Inter personnel-wise are built to beat you on the counter.
Mm-hmm.
They love having space. They love being able to operate and get in behind you and get you stretched and then go. And I just don't see this being a game where they're going to let Pilsen have a lot of the ball. They're just going to have it, and they're just going to create off of that. So, So for me, I think I'll go 3-0. You're going 2-0. Anthony in the chat saying 2-0. So we're all kind of in some agreement on that. Napoli and Rangers. Napoli can rotate. I think they will. I don't think you see Osimhen tomorrow. I think we could see Raspadori.
Yeah.
Who we could see, but we could see Raspadori and Simeone together. They've done that, haven't they?
I'm sure they have at some point in the season. Maybe not to start with, but
because Napoli don't need this game, and if my suspicions are correct, their game, what do they got at the weekend? Let's see, are they Saturday? Yeah, they host Sassuolo Saturday, and it's an early game. So, as far as Champions League fixture pileups go, that's a pretty quick turnaround.
This is a dilemma for Spalletti, and I say this because A, you rotate guys like you said. This game doesn't mean anything. You focus on Serie A. But B, on the flip side, you potentially, if you rotate enough and you lose momentum by getting a loss somehow, does that throw off the rest of your season, right? You're on such a great form. Do you keep that going, or do you risk not injuring players for the league? It's a hard juggle. It seems like an easy choice, but it really isn't, because especially teams are not as – Napoli isn't as strong as some teams yet. We haven't – they have to prove it to us, right? And until they prove it to us, it could be in the back of their head that, hey, if they lose that form, it's starting to unravel. Even though they don't need this game, you don't want to change anything at all. I mean, it's hard to say. The key guys,
I don't know if I see a blow. Well, I mean, it also depends on how motivated Rangers is going to be for this, because Rangers are completely out of Champions League. Now, they can still qualify for Europa, they're going to have to beat Ajax by more than 4 on the last match day to do it. So, is this one of these I could see Van Bronckhorst totally cutting his losses here and saying, we're punting too, which would deprive us of James Tavernier. Mm-hmm. But I see Tavernier playing decent right back for them. The problem with this Rangers team is that just the rest of them just aren't any good. I mean, Stephen Davis has been playing forever. I mean, none of these guys inspire any fear. I mean, John Lundstrom was a midfielder on a Sheffield United team that wasn't very good. This isn't Scott Arfield. Scott Arfield's Canadian, isn't he?
You got me.
Yes, he is. Hey, I got that one right.
There you go.
Was like a spot starter for Burnley. I mean, these guys are playing on a Champions League team. Spalletti could rotate and Napoli could still win this game 3-1, and I think they will.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think
they'll concede one.
4-1. Yeah, I can see that too. I don't see Napoli losing this game. I think even their backups, they got such good depth on this team. Whether you're starting, Politano or Raspadori, or you're resting Cavara or Osimhen, it doesn't matter. They got a lot of good players on this team. I can see them scoring goals still. Plus, Spalletti's going to still do the same tactics. So yeah, 3-1. I like that shot.
Yep. So that's the rest of the Champions League. So we think Inter will qualify. Napoli have a no big deal kind of game. Getting over to the Europa League, Lazio host Midtjylland, and then Roma travel to I just had it.
Helsinki.
HJK Helsinki. Yes, thank you. All right, so Lazio right now, the situation with them is that everybody has 5 points in Group F.
Yeah.
Feyenoord, Midtjylland, Lazio, Sturm Graz. And it's still a relatively difficult group. Now, Lazio were pantsed in Denmark by Midtjylland, which is a big reason why Midtjylland's on 5 points. But it's a Midtjylland team that, aside from that game, have not been particularly good in this competition. They did get a 2-2 draw in both games against Feyenoord. They were beaten 1-0 by Sturm Graz, so I should walk that back. They've been okay. I mean, it's how serious does Lazio want to take this game? And I think that now that if they're in a position to qualify, we'd expect Sarri to go for it. I think this is going to be a very entertaining game. Lazio just came off a very challenging game here, beating Atalanta. Now kind of sandwiched here in between fixtures, where on Sunday they got to host Salernitana, which you would expect they'd be able to take care of business. But Midtjylland has been tricky, and I think that they're capable of scoring goals, and Lazio have been a little bit different in the Europa League. I think this will be an entertaining game. I'm going to go 3-2 to Lazio.
High scoring.
Midtjylland can score. The problem is they can't keep anybody out.
Yeah. That's a good shot. I mean, they've got 9 goals in the tournament so far, second only to Feyenoord. So yeah, that's a good shot. I hope Lazio go take the confidence that they had from Atalanta and build upon that. I agree. Sarri's going to want to qualify for the next round. I'm going to go. Oh man, I'm going to go 2-1 Lazio.
2-1 Lazio. Okay.
Yeah.
I almost went 2-1 Lazio, but I gave them an extra goal. So, all right, Roma at HJK Helsinki. They're behind Ludogorets and Betis, who play each other in Bulgaria on Thursday. I'm going to go for Roma to I'm going to just go 2-0. Mourinho coming off of the difficult game against Napoli, and then now having to come in, and I think he plays on Monday at Hellas Verona. This is going to be all about just, doesn't have to be pretty, doesn't have to be dominant, just nick a 2-0 win and move on. It's going to be your classic Jose Mourinho, beat you 2-0 and go about your business. Yeah,
I imagine that's what they're going to go out and do. I expect nothing less than that, honestly, a win, and hopefully Ludogorets loses to Betis. But I don't know. I have this feeling that Helsinki is going to score a goal somehow. So I'm gonna go same scoreline as the Lazio game, 2-1 Roma.
Okay. And then finally, Fiorentina in the Conference League against Besiktas here. Besiktas here hasn't given up a goal yet in this competition. I think that is finally going to end for them coming to the Artemio Franchi. But I'm going to say this is a 2-2 draw because Fiorentina will be able to score goals, but they also can't keep anybody out these days.
We saw that this weekend.
Yes, we did. And I think that it'll be an entertaining game. It'll be a 2-2 draw. It'll clinch the group win for Besiktas here. It will leave Fiorentina with still having to do a little bit of work if they want to qualify, but they ought to.
I'm going to go for the win. I go 3-2 for Fiorentina. How about that?
Okay. Which could happen. So, all right. So that's our European roundup. We had 3 big games, Richard, on match week 11. Let's start with those, and then we'll talk about the rest after that.
All right. Let's see. What 3 games do we want to talk about? Okay, so first, starting off with Fiorentina hosting Inter, big game there. Want to see what both these teams are made of. Well, we kind of know what both these teams are made of, but how would they square up against each other? Goal scoring started early and super early for Inter. Great start for them. Nicolò Barella, scores in the 2nd minute. Wonderful team play goal off a turnover there. Nice run by Barella to get there, and then with the outside of his foot, getting past the keeper. Well done there. 1-0 there. And then just 10, 12 minutes later, Lautaro Martinez makes it 2-0. You're looking like it's gonna be a blowout here. What is going on here with Fiorentina? They finally wake up, get the penalty in the 33rd minute. Cabral converts it, makes it 2-1. Icone with a goal of the week candidate. Wonderful goal by him, made it 2-2. And you're thinking, okay, we're going to get a draw here. Then a controversial penalty happens in the 73rd minute. Penalty awarded to Inter after the goalkeeper for Fiorentina touched it, did not touch it, and we'll get to that. Another similar play in the Roma-Napoli matchup. Lautaro steps up, scores, makes it 3-2. Jovic, a guy who's been having a hard time this season for Fiorentina, did get the equalizer, it seemed like, in the 90th minute, but there's still stoppage time, and Mkhitaryan, after a terrible mistake defensively, bounced right to Mkhitaryan, who continued his run and goes into goal. 4-3 Inter win a hell of a game, Frank. This game had everything. This game had everything from beginning to end, from the opening whistle to end whistle. You want to keep going, or you want to talk about this?
No. We'll talk about this game. We should get. We want to give individual attention to each one of these games because they were all very good. Yeah, Fiorentina and Inter gave us an all-timer, as you've illustrated for us. What's crazy to me is that, okay, the final score was 4-3, but there weren't a lot of shots in this game overall.
No.
You know, I mean, Cremonese had more shots than these two teams combined in their game against Sampdoria on Monday.
And they had no goals.
Yeah, they didn't score. So I think that what that tells you is that, okay, Fiorentina had a lot of possession. For the most part, did a pretty good job of diffusing Inter on the counterattack. Inter were definitely much more efficient with the chances that they got. They forced Terracciano into some saves. You know, when I look at how this game broke down, the role of the striker for Fiorentina, I mean, Cabral, had he not gotten the penalty, we would not have known he was out there.
Yeah.
Speaks to the performances in particular of De Vrij and Skriniar, I thought were decent. Okay. You know, the Icone goal, I mean, what can anybody in the back three do about that?
Yeah.
You know, I think where you do have to maybe give them a little bit of stick, allowing Jovic to get in there and get that goal there, you know, right at the last minute. But as far as the job they did overall in Cabral as a starting center striker, they did their job. And Inter have struggled in big games in particular. They've struggled with strikers. I think they've gotten a little bit better at it. You know, the home match against Barcelona in the Champions League, they were great against Lewandowski, not so great against him at the Camp Nou. So that's one thing that I noticed and I saw. you know, the Inter's midfield for me was better than Fiorentina's, and I think that here's the other thing: a lot of lost possession. You know, guys like Amrabat and Duncan struggled to get things going, and Bonaventura, and their presence gives Bonaventura a little bit of freedom, but Bonaventura really couldn't do a whole lot with it. You know, but I thought the Inter midfield was better in this game, and then you know it's Barella getting that early goal, Mkhitaryan getting that late goal, Çalhanoğlu. He's not Brozovic. It's kind of crazy. I mean, you look at this Inter midfield, and you would have thought, well, this shouldn't work, but it did. And you have Barella, Çalhanoğlu, Mkhitaryan. Okay, who's the stopper in that midfield? It's not Barella, but you're not asking little 5'2" Barella to be a stopper. He's a runner.
5'2".
Yeah, isn't he 5'2"? Somebody told me he was 5'2" today.
5'8", 5'9", something like that. Yeah,
I'm going to look this up now. I got to look up his height. That's what you're doing to me. 5'8". Okay, 5'8".
Yeah.
We're cheating him out of a half a foot.
You're cheating him, not me.
I thought this is a team effort, Richard.
Poor Nicolò.
I think I made the joke about Nicolò Barella that the fastest I see him run is when he runs at the referee when he doesn't like a call.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah.
I don't think that he runs faster at any moment in a match than he does when a referee makes a call he doesn't like.
You go against him.
Yeah,
for sure.
So, I thought Darmian was good too.
Yeah, he's been good this season.
I thought that he, you know, Kwame ended up getting an assist in this game, but overall, you know, nullified some of the threat that Kwame can bring because Kwame's been in pretty good form for Fiorentina too.
I thought Kwame was decent. I thought for what the Brian screen the back three did against Cabral, I thought Kwame was being able to create some stuff. I mean, he obviously got the assist on Ikone's goal. I thought he was lively. Yes, he got nullified a lot, but he still was able to create some plays, unlike Cabral, who was non-existent other than the penalty. So you got to give credit to Inter for being able to nullify him as best they could. I thought, you know, on Fiorentina's side, though the midfield wasn't as good, I thought, you know, having Ikone had some good chances early in the game and then eventually got his goal in the 60th minute. Like I said, Kwame was doing well. Using the wingback play as well really helped them to overcome some of the midfield weaknesses that they had because, like you said, that the midfield that for Inter, even though they didn't look that good, they were playing well. Obviously, having an early goal helps, but then that sending up Lautaro for that second goal, they were creating chances, limited, but they still created chances. So I think, you know, to your point, Darmian and some of these guys, they were doing a good job defensively, and goalkeepers made their saves. But, you know, like you said, there weren't many great chances in the game. The ones that they had, the score, both teams have to be fairly clinical in their regards.
And Fiorentina's only answer for stopping Inter on the counter was fouling them.
Yeah,
and Amrabat himself committed 4 fouls, got booked for one of them. You know, it was an efficient performance by Inter. They got a little bit leaky defensively. The penalty for Cabral, Ikone. I mean, sometimes you just put your hands in the air and say, "Okay, great goal. We got to go answer to that now." And then the Jovic goal, I think, was one that was preventable.
Yeah, for sure.
I think in the way these two teams approached this game, Inter were the better team and deserved to win the game. I don't think that.
I will say this. I think.
Do you think 4-3 flatters Fiorentina a little bit here?
I think the game flattered Fiorentina. I think the game flattered Inter.
Okay.
Some people may think I sympathize with Inter at times, but cover your ears because I think Inter got lucky in this game because the penalty that Cabral ended up scoring on, Di Marco should have been getting a red card for the high studs on Bonaventura. He should have been out. And he stayed in the game and was able to create chances after chances in that game. Inter should have been down to 10 man from early on for the rest of that game, in my opinion. Yeah. And then you look at the penalty. The penalty in this game and the penalty in the Roma Napoli game almost identical.
Yeah.
Player goes into the box, goalie gets his hand on the ball or doesn't get his hand on the ball, penalty called. What we saw in the Inter Fiorentina matchup was that Tatarachano touched the ball, player goes down, they say penalty. Roma Napoli and Dobele goes in,
Tatriciano. Who's Tatriciano?
Tatriciano. I'm thinking about Milan.
Are Tatriciano and Tatriciano going to mate and have a child?
There may be a good goalkeeper at that point. Tatriciano got the ball. Penalty called. In the Roma game, and Dobele, Rui Patricio, he gets the hand on the ball. No penalty called. Same play, opposite calls. This is what frustrates people with VAR. But I think Inter got lucky in this game because they shouldn't have had 11 guys for 60 minutes of the game, and they did.
Sure.
And the result probably would have gone. I don't know. I can't say that Inter or Fiorentina would have done something with that man advantage, but that score flatters Inter. But on the flip,
think it flatters Inter. Okay.
But I will say Inter can play with what's in front of them. They didn't have. They weren't making the calls. They played through it, and they played till the very end. They deserved the goal at the end. Mkhitaryan making his run. The team earned that win. What should it have all the guys out there? That doesn't matter. They couldn't. It wasn't up to them. They handled what they had to do, and they did it. And you have to give Inter credit because that is what champions do. They find a way to get results when everything's going against them, and they still get the result. So kudos to Inter for that. But I think the refereeing is the bigger topic.
Okay. But Fiorentina still regrouped and scored. So I get it. I mean, if Martinez, if that's the last goal of the match,
that was a bad goal. Did I give up?
I can understand where it shifts things tactically, and you got to try to make some changes and do some different things. Where your hand is forced a little bit, where if that incident was handled correctly, it's still 2-2, and maybe Italiano's thinking is a little bit different. Yeah, I can see that, and that might change the course a little bit, but he made the necessary changes to put the team in position to get back into the game and draw it at 3-3. Yeah. They just get countered in the end, looking for the winner. So, and it goes back to bite them. I think, at some point you almost ask yourself, you get it to 3-3 in the 90th minute. You've been struggling. You need points. You need to work your way back up. This is a title contender. At some point as a manager, you want to try to win. You want to try to get the 3 points. But with what you've been through in that game and with everything that's gone on, do you just sit there and say, look, let's just manage this out. Point is not going to really kill us here. Let's not lose the point we just fought to get back. But at the same time, you can look at it that way, or you can look at the way that I prefer. He went for it. So, all right, we got 3-3. Let's go win. Let's go try and win the game, and let's go chase this, knowing full well what Inter can do going the other way. No, for sure. Was it worth that risk? Well, in hindsight, it's not, because they lost.
Yeah, and it was a silly mistake that cost them that goal. I mean, 9 times out of the 10, he's going to get that play, and it's never going to get to Mkhitaryan. But Mkhitaryan does what a good attacker should do: is continue your run on the off chance it goes by, and you're right there. And sure enough, he was there, and kudos to them for getting the game-winning goal.
My good Juve were horrible against Benfica.
I mean, he meant
so was the bad Juve.
Yeah, Juve were terrible.
Our chat doesn't know how to type.
Yeah, I don't know how to talk, so it worked out, right?
I don't know how to talk, so you're in good company, Hamza.
Yeah, I'm calling goalkeepers by the wrong name. Tatriciano.
Tatriciano is going to be the new. He's going to be the new goalkeeper. Maybe they do some kind of wife swap, and
maybe.
So, assuming they have wives, I don't know much about these players' personal lives. So, okay.
Where were we?
Let's talk about Atalanta Lazio, Richard, where Lazio won the match 2-0. Zaccagni in the 10th minute, and Felipe Anderson in the 52nd minute. And typical what we've seen of Atalanta this season, they take on the strategy of letting Lazio have a little bit more of the ball. They try to defend. The Lazio found the spaces that other teams have been having a hard time finding. Now, is it because they played with a false 9, or that they could have a little variation? Atalanta hasn't really seen that this season, so you have to wonder if there was maybe some confusion with how Atalanta defended in this game. I don't think there was a whole lot that looked different. Zaccagni backdoored Okoli.
Yeah. Great run by him.
Yeah.
Okoli not paying attention. What so bit?
Yeah. Okoli getting caught ball watching a little bit there, and then you get the Felipe Anderson goal. I thought that Atalanta tried to be organized, but to Hamza's point, were confused.
Mm-hmm.
And ended up losing the game. I want to make a few points about Lazio here, Richard. Okay, Mattia Zaccagni's why Lazio are probably not going to miss Ciro Immobile. Through 11 games this season, 4 goals and 3 assists. He's really taken on an accelerated role in this team under Maurizio Sarri. His star just keeps rising. He's to a point where I don't even think Roberto Mancini can ignore him for future national team call-ups. It's all about what Mancini's going to do system-wise, because he rolled out 3-5-2 in the last couple of Nations League games, where if that's the case, Zaccagni probably doesn't fit. But Zaccagni feels like Insigne at Sarri's Napoli, almost. You know, I mean, Insigne was definitely more productive, but Zaccagni is certainly trending that way, I think. You know, so I want to point out him. I think that, you know, we can say we maybe create, because Caicedo's not with Lazio anymore, so maybe Zaccagni greater than Immobile. We can get that T-shirt made up. And then the combination of Casale and Romagnoli were excellent.
Yeah,
in the middle of that defense. They knew what was coming when Atalanta came forward, and they were ready. And the most dangerous chance of the game from Atalanta came from when Hateboer came forward.
Yeah, offside.
And he even missed the target altogether. Atalanta didn't get anything on target. Lazio played a very controlled match from start to finish. They did an excellent job. I think that this was a commendable performance from Sarri and his team. You know, to find the solution and find the resources. So let's, you know, so I ask you the question, did Lazio, is this Lazio team going to be okay without Ciro Immobile, or is this a case of the whole league just got to see what Lazio looked like without Immobile for 90 minutes, and they're all going to now have time to figure it out?
Yeah, I mean, on you could ask that. You could ask also, are Lazio better without Ciro Immobile? Right? It seems like when he's there, they are overly dependent on him, and they kind of take away from some of the good things they can do, because there's some quality players in the attack. We've talked about this. They're very good attacking players on this team. You know, Felipe Anderson, Zaccagni, and not even mention, you know, Sergei Milinkovic-Savic and Luis Alberto and some of these other guys. But when he's not there, they have to actually play, not focus on him, and they can do what they're good at. Felipe Anderson was good today. Zaccagni, excellent. The team played as a team. Now, I'm not going to be foolish enough to say that they're better without Ciro Immobile. Ciro Immobile is a fantastic player. He does so many things outside of scoring goals. But are they going to miss him? Going back to your question, I don't think they're going to miss him. Where are we going to see? In this game, we kind of saw it. They had Felipe Anderson step up. Zaccagni stepped up. In the big games, Ciro Immobile always scored. They may not have won those games, but he always scored, it seemed like. Someone has to step up and take his place in those big games. We saw in this game, it's a big game. Zaccagni, Felipe Anderson are willing to step up. Now, if they continue doing that while he's out, they are not going to miss a beat. But I think in his other games, they're going to be fine. So I don't think they're going to miss Ciro Immobile based on the small sample of being a very good Atalanta team. They were just so organized, and Sarri had them humming, really, and it was really good to see. And like you said, the defensive pairing of Casale and Romagnoli worked really well. So if they can watch that backdoor play that Atalanta nearly scored on with Hateboer, it's going to be a very complete team and a hard team to beat going forward. So yeah, I think this Lazio team should be good without Immobile. Obviously, you want him, but I think they'll be good.
I'm going to throw something amazing at you with this, with regards to Nicolò Casale. because now he is now the next player we're hyping up. You know how we try to get ahead of this. This one I wanted to see a couple of games and get some sample on him. But when we get to midseason and I do my you better know 11, he is locked in it. He's made 4 appearances now for Lazio. 4. No one's been able to score on Lazio with him out there.
Wow.
So, and he has been damn good in every appearance he's made. So, I mean, in this game on Sunday against Atalanta in particular, but yeah, he has made 4 appearances with Lazio since the start of this season. And when he's out there, Lazio have yet to concede a goal. Just play him all the time, Sadi.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Has Romagnoli been his partner in all 4 of those games?
Let's look. Okay, I'm gonna look that up while you maybe make some comments about Atalanta and the struggles to try to breach what Lazio had. I mean, Lazio knew what was coming. They were ready. They made Atalanta look predictable almost.
They did. They did. And then with the early goal as well, Gasperini was all fired up. It seemed like Lazio did their homework, read all the channels that where Atalanta like to get you, and frustrated them. And then when they did, Atalanta had no answer. They tried different things, but as who put it, I think Ollie Oxen put it in the chat, or somebody else said, excuse me, some of these pieces as a collective, they're good, but they don't have the individual talent, it seems, at the moment to unlock the defenses as they did in the past. There's no Papu Gomez, there's no Ilicic, right? Paslic is there and some other guys, but as a team, they're good. And when you stop the team, there's no individual to come up and stand up and take the reins, right? We talked about it with Lazio without Immobile. They were lacking that. And Lazio took full advantage of that, and they were completely disciplined. Great game plan by Sarri and his men, and it worked out. And Atalanta, it's not going to be derail their season, but they're going to have to figure out an alternative when they get stopped.
2 games with Romagnoli, 2 games with Patrick.
Makes Patrick look good, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Right?
Yeah.
So
Mario Gila played 1 game as well.
What's that?
Mario Gila played with Casale as well 1 time.
Yeah. I think the ones I saw that it was 2 with Romagnoli, 2 with Patrick, at least the starting lineups. The Cremonese and Hellas Verona wins, he was playing back there with Patrick. And then the last 2 games, Udinese and Atalanta, he was playing with Romagnoli.
So let's play devil's advocate on your Casale comment, just for fun, right? You mentioned how the great statistic he has playing for Lazio, starting for Lazio. And Hamza says, I want to see 8 good games for Casale. Usually we don't really judge teams until we see them for 10 games.
Right.
Do we do that with players as well? Or, we have a pretty good vibe on players, how they look, but to get a true assessment of him, should we wait to see more of a sample size to see, hey, is this guy's really legit, or does he had a couple good games or good starts to his career? What do you thought?
In this game, I'm good with 4 games as a sample size. Now, he played last year quite a bit too.
Yeah. But
the form that he's in right now, I'm good with. I mean, you have 4 games. You've been involved in 4 games where the other team doesn't score. That's saying something, isn't it? And especially with different center back partners.
Yeah.
There's a responsibility. Captain. Here's the thing. He's got height at 6'3". He can win in the air. He's got quickness, as Hamza pointed out. The one question if there's a question I would like to see get answered is, how does he deal with possession out of the back against a team that's going to press him?
Yeah.
So that's the one box that, let's just say, that's the one box that probably still needs to get ticked.
Now, Uncle Sharma had a really great video this week talking about the pragmatism of Serie A this year and how teams aren't pressing as much as they normally would, or as that we're used to. It's a great video. Go check out the video if you haven't seen it yet. Uncle Sharma, great content there. But he talked about how there's not many teams in Serie A this year doing the high press. There are some that still do it, right? Milan, obviously, you're trying to mimic the Bayern system. There are a few teams, but most teams, especially the teams that are on top of the league, they tend not to press that much, right? It's mostly the teams at the bottom of the table and a couple other outliers in there, Atalanta being one of them. But yeah, it'd be curious to see under pressure how you do. That's when you want to see how good a defender was. That's why we kind of raved on Tomori last year, because under pressure he was excellent. Right, this year maybe not as step down, but when you're faced that kind of pressure where you have to move the ball with your feet, how good are you? That'll say what kind of overall player you are, or if you're just having a good 4-game stint or whatever.
Right. I'm with you on all of that for sure. Oh, mercy. Atalanta slipped up here a couple of times now. They got the red card to Muriel. Well, they beat Sassuolo.
Dumb red by him.
The draw against Udinese is the other one. So, I mean, I guess they can be forgiven. I mean, they played a pretty – I don't know. You probably can write this just off as a bad day for Atalanta. Let me walk it back a little bit, because I look at their last 5 fixtures: at Roma, hosting Fiorentina; at Udinese, hosting Sassuolo; hosting Lazio. That's a pretty challenging stretch.
For sure.
Coming out of that with 10 out of a possible 15 points, I think you would take if you're trying to build a campaign that challenges for even top 4.
Yeah.
So we had one more big game. Happens to be the Derby della Sud. We've gone almost an hour into this podcast, Richard, and we have not talked about Roma Napoli yet.
I know. 2 teams, fantastic teams in terms of talent, what they can do offensively. Obviously, what Napoli's doing on the continent, on European continent or wherever, it's something to talk about. But Roma's doing a pretty good job as well. And in this game, I wasn't expecting a lot of goals, and we didn't get many goals. We didn't get a goal until the 80th minute. Osimhen with a nice run behind. But this was though there weren't many goals, this was an entertaining game. Napoli do what they do. They're going to get possession. They outpossess most teams. But this is a good match. I thought Smalling was good for majority of the game. Had that one mistake on Osimhen, and it was a big mistake. Osimhen, fantastic finish on that, right? But they did a good job. I think Roma did against Kvaratskhelia. I mean, both teams had their moments, had their saves. It was such an entertaining game. Usually 1-0 games, you're like, it probably wasn't a good game. This is a good game for me. It could have been, was it the best game, 1-0 game ever? No, but it was certainly a good game for Derby della Sole. So, I mean, had everything. It had a lot. It wasn't as entertaining as maybe Fiorentina Inter with all the goals, but I think with the minus the goals, it's still a very entertaining game. I mean, Juan Jesus nearly got the goal. I mean, he should have scored. He should have scored against Roma. He's going to be kicking himself that he didn't score against his old team there. But good game, I think, by both teams, I think. And the question that keeps coming up, Zaniolo still has no goals, right? I mean, how many games now has he not scored a goal? It's been a long time. I think Jerry posted something about how long it's been since he scored a goal. It's been 84 years or something. But that's the one thing for Roma. I mean, they're missing Dybala, obviously, but not getting any goals, and it's hard. Napoli's a good team. I mean, both these teams are good.
Here's the thing with Zaniolo. I think he's a one-trick pony as an attacker. I think he needs space. He needs to get behind on counterattacks. When they're in possession and the space and the opponent's compact and that sort of thing, I don't think he's one of those guys that is shown that he's capable of finding those spaces where he can unlock things. I don't think he can get into the half spaces and be dangerous. I think he's good at sprinting past opposition. I think he's Leao, but Leao is way better at it than him. And Leao has other things to his skill set too.
And Zaniolo was good in this game. He has the pace still, which is good. Some guys having those injuries that he have don't have the speed still. He's still got the speed.
Yeah, and I just feel like he's not a guy that he's not a guy that I'm scared of when Roma get the ball wide and they're getting into crossing situations. I want to know where he is, and if I know where he is, that's good enough. He's not a guy that's going to beat you aerially. He's not a guy that, unless you get totally get caught ball watching, then that's where he's going to sneak into the spaces and score. But other than that, I don't know if there's anything more to him than just his pace, his ability to dribble past, his ability to run past, and things like that. And I think he needs it in counterattacking environments where he's got more spaces to do it. He doesn't strike me as an attacker yet that can be effective when being asked the questions that an opponent that will compact things and tighten the spaces up. I don't think he has the answers to those questions yet. Yeah. I think you purely use him, but I mean but he's ideal for the way Mourinho wants to play with Roma.
Yeah, he's good one-on-one. He is good one-on-one. He's got pretty decent vision, but the finishing is not there right now. Obviously, doesn't help that Tammy is not scoring either.
Yeah, right? He had a good early chance, and that was about it. That was about it. But his influence is that when you lose the ball, you better know where he is, because he's one of those guys that a defender will look for in route one, and just you're running, you've got a ton of room. I'm going to launch this thing about 70 yards and have you go chase it. So
someone asked me this question last week. I forget who it was, and I apologize. And they said, knowing Zaniolo is young, right? He's young. He's got all his potential. And say Mourinho wants Son from Tottenham. Would you make that swap? Son is getting towards the end of his career. He's like 29 now, 28, 29.
Oh, I'd make that swap in a heartbeat.
Right. Well, the question is, you got 4 years of fantastic top-of-the-notch play by Son, or potentially 10 more years of Zaniolo and maybe get into potential that surpasses Son. I said
you could get 6 out of Son. He's fitter than you think.
Fit enough. All these guys are fitter than I said,
and especially in Serie A too.
Yeah, I made the case for Son. I said you take Son now and you get your team good, you make all this money, you get in the Champions League, maybe you win a Scudetto, and you keep getting more money, you can buy more players to take his place. Zaniolo, yes, he's a potential to surpass Son in terms of talent, but there's no guarantee.
Right.
And right now he's not scoring goals. So you take the sure bet, which is Son at the moment. He knows, Mourinho knows he can get him to work on his system. And hope that Zaniolo blossoms at Tottenham. But I would make that swap in a heartbeat. It's a difficult call. I know there's many Romans who would say, no, I'm not making that move. And I understand that. But I personally, and it seems like you too, would take Son in a heartbeat.
Zaniolo thrives in a 2-striker system where the other striker's a stronger guy, target guy, hold up play that can absorb the punishment, and Zaniolo can just run off of that. The problem is that Tammy Abraham can't. I don't take Tammy Abraham seriously in that role. If we got prime form Andrea Bellotti from when he was at Torino, when all the hype started on this Roma team, that would be pretty dynamic with him and Zaniolo together.
Yeah.
But we don't have that with Bellotti right now. We have a Bellotti that gets to play Europa League and gets to go score braces against Helsinki.
Yeah.
So he's a shell of what he used to be in essence.
I think Tammy Abraham needs to link up with Leao, because Leao 2 years ago was this frail guy, fast, obviously talented, but you could push him off the ball. Right. Last year he bulked up, won the MVP. Tammy Abraham needs to bulk up. If he bulks up, becomes a menacing force like a Duvan Zapata or any of these big strikers, then you're talking, because it adds a different element to his game. Thierry Henry had a great comment about how a striker should play defender with his back to the ball. And I doubt, Tammy Abraham could do it. You can't, spin off the guy. He doesn't have the strength to hold off a defender. He needs to bulk up so he gets that strength. And you don't want to get to the point where you're like Lukaku now, where you're way too heavy and you can't have the pace anymore. He needs to bulk up for sure and get stronger, hold off some of these guys. And he'll become a complete Bellotti-like striker who can do multiple things, not just outpace you and get a goal.
I just, at the moment, Abraham and Zaniolo to me as forwards are two of the same guy. And then when you're trying to counter, you need it sometimes helps to have a reference up there that can you get the ball to him and can he hold it? And then you can have the runners making their runs, or you can drop it to a guy like Pellegrini who can find Zaniolo running into the spaces if your back is to Zaniolo. So those are the things that, and Tommy just doesn't fit that mold. And, to Hamza's point, Tommy at Atalanta instead of Tammy Abraham would be an amazing forward for Atalanta.
Yeah.
So, So and right now Mourinho just doesn't quite have that. So, but I'll say this: Victor. I mean, on the flip side, as far as strikers go, Victor Osimhen was fantastic, and not just for the goal. I mean, off the ball, on the ball. I mean, he created all kinds of problems. I mean, he outworked that entire Roma back three. Smalling, when he got in some moments with him and was fine, but nothing more than that. But Mancini, Abagna, none of these guys could have figured out what to do with him, and he kept peeling off of guys, getting for pace. I mean, he scored a man's goal. His goal is my goal of the week.
Okay.
I
mean, Hobbs made a good point. Smalling and Cristante were amazing in this game. Smalling had a really good game, and still Osimhen had a good game. The goal, even if he didn't have a goal, he still played very beastly, to use the Napoli rant guys, right? He was very much all over the place, using his pace, using his smarts to make the runs, peeling off guys, like you said. And so he did so much in that game. Excellent game by him. And yeah, it was just a fun chess match to watch for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Osimhen is trending. We talk about, what do we talk about? A couple of years ago, we were talking about the things that we're looking for in a striker. That they're the 5 areas where we want you to just be elite: hold up play, finishing. I can't remember what the 5. We have to go back to the archives and look at it. We've talked about so many functions and components of positions that it's crazy. But Osimhen is trending to being that elite striker that we had a couple of years ago with Duvan Zapata and Romelu Lukaku. And I think that Osimhen is trending in, the thing that has just curbed him obviously has been the injuries, and now he's fit again. And we see the just special player that he can be and that he is. And I think he demonstrated that. I thought he was the best player on the pitch in this game.
Yeah, fair shot.
I think you can maybe make a case for Juan Jesus was also really damn good. He had a lot to do with why Roma were struggling to get anything dangerous on Napoli. But for me, Victor Osimhen was the man of the match in this game, not just because of the goal, but just because of everything else that he did in this game.
So let me ask this question, because we just talked about this with Tammy Abraham. Considering all the injury problems with Osimhen, should he also try to bulk up as well, get muscular? And yes, he has good hold-up play, but get even better if he has a little bit muscle on his frame, because you don't want to take away his lightning pace. Guys like him and Leao with this pace that is unmatched, you don't want to take away from that. But obviously Leao did it in a way where it didn't affect his pace. Maybe made him a little faster, right? So should Osimhen do the same thing? We talked about the Tammy Abraham. Maybe Osimhen has to do the same thing to even reach those elite levels that we thought he was going to get, right? Because he's really good things, but he needs a little bit more stronger, maybe. I don't know.
No.
Or he's good at what he is.
I think his frame is fine.
Okay.
For what he does.
Okay.
Yeah. He's one of those that I feel like that if you had him bulk up more, he would slow down.
Yeah.
And I don't think you want to lose that. So
Apex is agreeing with you as well. And to answer Daniel's comment, everything's going well for Spalletti this season. He's in seventh heaven at the moment. Anything he does turns to gold. You can make ridiculous substitutions like he did, and it still works out. That's the flavor of what Spalletti is doing at the moment, and that's why I posed earlier. Like, you got to be careful with these games in Champions League where you have already won it, like subbing too much and getting out of that mojo. But they're so good at the moment; they probably win no matter what. So,
Elmas for Ndombele, which kind of like for like, but Elmas probably plays a little higher than Ndombele.
Yeah.
Players too. Politano for Lozano, straight swap. Gaetano for Zielinski. Let me look at what Gaetano did in this game. Didn't look like he had much impact on it.
Yeah. That's a big drop off from Zielinski to Gaetano.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the criticism. That's the one substitution. I mean, the first two substitutions I didn't have an issue with, but bringing on Gaetano for Zielinski, who you can argue has been your best player this season.
Mm-hmm.
Justifiably so. A lot of talk about Kvaratskhelia, and I don't have any problem with anybody saying that he's been their best player, even Osimhen.
Sure,
but Zielinski has really made it go between the midfield and the attackers.
Lozano is getting better too, just in time for the World Cup. He's been playing really well over the last month or so, especially in this game.
Yeah, I'll agree with Hamza that Napoli looked better once they took Ndombele off, but then once they took Zielinski off, they regressed again. So they had those 18 minutes, is where they had it. But then, and I don't know, maybe if it was just a fatigue thing with Zielinski, it had to be. But Gaetano, and you look at the rest of that bench there,
Resting him up for Rangers.
Why? I mean, bring on Deme.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Bring on Deme if you're that concerned. So, Sanjar's in the house. Good to see you, man. He's smoking that Juve pack. Oh, boy. All right. Is it time to be concerned for Roma here? I mean, or is that reading too much into it? I mean, lost narrowly to Napoli. Didn't produce a whole lot of dangers. They played all right. They played pretty well. Inter they beat. Atalanta they lose to. It's kind of, are we just writing this off and saying that we're having the same roller coaster here with Roma?
It's hard to say because it's infuriating that they're not getting any shots on target, right? This team can create so many chances. The last 2 games now that they really didn't create much on the offensive side in terms of threats on goal. 0 shots on target is not a good way, not a way you're going to win games.
No.
They still look good. But they need the killer instinct is missing. And maybe you need to change it up and start with Belotti. Not that he is his old self, but I mean, look at the stretch coming up. This may be the location to do it.
Yep.
You got Hellas on the horizon, right? Looking at league play only. Lazio is going to be a big game, obviously. Sassuolo, goals can be had there. And Torino, and then Bologna after that. So I don't know, maybe it is not a place to, because those are some hard defenses there after Hellas there, but they need to figure out a way. I'm not worried about them yet, but if this ineptitude on the final third continues, I am. The last 2 games have been bad Roma in terms of finishing, in terms of getting shots on target, but they're still a good team.
Right.
But at some point, that gets old, and they are not a good team at all, right? Atalanta last year, we said, oh, they're just struggling at the moment, but they have some good players. They're going to be good. They'll get there. And they never did. Right. So Roma are not there yet, but we have to keep a close eye out here until between now and when the World Cup gets here, this next month or so. Can they regain that form? And if not, Mourinho's going to look in January in the window to figure out a way to get that to happen. I mean, depends how long the ball is out. But your guys have to perform. Yes, you can have some world-class players or excellent players, but if they don't perform, you got to find somebody who will.
Yep. Agreed. All right. Well, we probably should get rolling here into the rest of the slate that happened over match week 11, shall we? I think we've beaten Roma and Napoli today. I will say this. Let me close this about Napoli first.
All right.
I've spent the last couple of weeks poking holes at Napoli's start. Okay. I'll close a couple of those holes after this performance. Okay. We still got to talk about when the Cup of Nations, when players go away, what are they going to have? Because is Cup of Nations next year after the World Cup? I don't think they would have that so quickly after the World Cup.
You would hope not.
No, I don't think so. All right. But anyway, I still want to see how this looks when they actually get in. No, there is no Cup of Nations this year. I didn't think there was. I was going to be crazy to do a World Cup and then a Cup of Nations 2 months later.
They can do it for the rest of the teams, right? No.
Sure. So, but Napoli closed a couple of those holes that I was poking in them here. They haven't closed all of them. All right, but they
Mario Ruiz also stepped up too, which kind of helped. That was a hole that he plugged himself.
Yes, they corrected. So they continue to kind of prove me wrong on a few things. I still want to lay down the challenge because it is Napoli, it is Spalletti. There is, you still think that other shoe might drop. So
should they still go after Navas?
Could be. I mean, Meret's been fine.
He's been fine, but if you want to win the title, maybe you need a step up. Can Meret get you the title? Can he get you the Scudetto? I don't know.
Yep.
He's had mental issues through the years since he started, whether it's full time or part time, where in big games he makes big mistakes.
Yeah.
And when crunch time comes, can you rely on him? I know Inter got the title with Handanovic, right? But he's a veteran goalkeeper. Meret isn't, and I don't know if he can. I hope he can, because for the Italian national team, it'd be great to have him with full of confidence and possibly challenging Gigio. But I don't know. So, and that's a question Spalletti's going to answer himself over the next month or so. Maybe looking into January, is Meret my guy going forward, or do I still go after Navas? That's going to be the question I think Spalletti and Napoli are going to have to answer. That's one of the bigger holes. What are the holes you're looking at with Napoli?
Yep. I would agree with that. Let's see how the season unfolds. So, definitely ahead of schedule with where I thought they'd be with all the changes that they made. So, moving on to the rest of match week 11, though, Juve started it with a 4-0 thumping of Empoli on Friday. Thumping's relative because Empoli still had more of the possession, got 4 shots on goal. I mean, Juve outshot Empoli 21-12. Moise Kean scored in the 8th minute on an assist from Filip Kostic. McKennie from Quadrado in the 55th. Rabiot from Quadrado in the 82nd. And then Rabiot from Danilo in the 94th to give the old lady the win there. So there's something good for Juve.
Rabiot masterclass, right?
Yeah.
I think Moise Kean looked pretty good in this game.
You're not going to the next round of the Champions League, but you beat Empoli.
Yeah.
So
Vlahovic might be out injured too, is what I'm hearing. Maybe someone in the chat mentioned it, but Vlahovic might be out long term, which would be really bad for Juventus. Not that
I've heard that too. Yeah. Sets the table for Arek Milik, who I think
he's been performing.
He's been performing and almost, in a goals per 90. Juve fans, calm your shit. From a goals per 90 standpoint, Milik has been outperforming Vlahovic.
Yeah.
We're looking at just goals per 90 minutes, not appearing or any of this other stuff.
Either way, I know Milik and Vlahovic have been excellent together. But, I still think Moise Kean is a player. If he can find a way to catch form somehow, that'll be a dynamic duo with whether it's Vlahovic or Milik. And if, depending on how the seriousness of this injury with Vlahovic, maybe it has to be, going to see a longer run with Moise Kean, and this will be his possibly final chance to really prove with Juventus that he is someone they should invest in.
Sure.
But he's got the pace, he's got the tangibles. It's just, can he put it together, right?
Yep. I agree. Salernitana 1, Spezia 0. Another one of the you better know 11 guys that are that's probably a lock now is Pasquale Mazzocchi, and he scores in the 48th minute. Boy, he would look good on a lot of teams right now. Salernitana, good luck keeping him. Yeah. The return of Berlusconi and Galliani to the San Siro, Milan hosting Monza. Pioli rotates the squad, and Brahim Diaz opens the scoring from Ciprian Tatrasanu, not Tatriciano, Tatrasanu, making it 1-0. Brahim Diaz, that is a goal of the week candidate. Brahim Diaz would score again in the 41st, assisted by Divock Origi. Diaz is playing like he wants to keep his job. 65th minute, Divock Origi making it 3-1. And then in the 70th minute, Filippo Ranocchia. Because I saw it was Ranocchia on the score sheet, I had to do it like a double take, and I say, wait, Andrea Ranocchia takes free kicks?
Yeah, I know.
But no, it's Filippo.
His brother, older brother, right?
Yes. Rafael Leao came into this game in the 60th minute. I'm not sure what the motivation was for Pioli to need to play him in this game, but nonetheless, Leao from Teo, very familiar combination in Milan, and the 84th to win it 4-1. Pretty back and forth game really between Milan and Monza. Yeah. Possession was relatively even. Monza fired off a lot of shots. Tatrasanu
8 saves.
Performed really well. Tomori performed well. Got some contributions from some other players. Pobega coming in as a spot start over Tonali. So Milan going on and winning there. Getting into Sunday, if you woke up early, you were treated to a good one.
Yeah.
Udinese and Torino got together, combined for 28 shots. Torino would win the match by 2-1. We have goals here from Ola Aina, a nice little team goal as Alexei Miranchuk found him wide open. And then in the 26th minute, some good pressing from Udinese, in particular by Destiny Udoji, who finds Gerard Deulofeu in the 26th minute. And then it is Pietro Pellegrini in the 69th, giving Torino the lead. And Udinese had chance after chance to try to get back into this thing, just couldn't quite level the scoring. So a loss and a setback for them. Bologna beat Lecce by 2-0. That man, Marko Arnautovic, again on a penalty, has to be said. I thought that penalty was soft. Lecce player is just trying to come around to the ball.
Yeah.
I don't even think he made a whole lot of contact there, but nonetheless. Lewis Ferguson scoring the second goal. Yeah, we don't know him either. Midfielder actually played pretty well in this game. We should probably do he was all right. I mean, we wouldn't know a whole lot about him if he didn't score. So, but Monday's games, we had Cremonese hosting Sampdoria. Like I said earlier, Cremonese had 21 shots in this game. Sampdoria win by 1-0. Colli getting the goal there. And then Sassuolo against Hellas Verona. A 2-1 win for Sassuolo, although Sassuolo decided to start this game about 10 minutes late or something like that because Verona completely caught them napping. A Federico Ceccarini, come on, that was a cross, Ceccarini. Don't act like you were shooting that because it just went past everybody and it rolled into the net. 1-0. And then how about Armand Lorient? This is another guy that's going to be in this You Better Know 11. Stepping in big time. I don't even know where they found. I'm going to have to do some homework on where they found this guy. 32nd minute, goal of the week candidate, brilliant individual effort after being fed by Obiang. And then Davide Fratese, who I believe was a past You Better Know 11 player.
Sure was.
Scoring in the 74th minute from Hamed Junior Traore to make it 2-1. Richard. 7 games there. Which one do you want to dissect first?
I'm gonna give a shout out first to someone who deserves it. And that is Franck Ribery, retiring from the sport of calcio, soccer, football, whatever you want to call it. A knee injury from the first game of the season. He's done. Just recovery is not going to happen. He's beaten. He's had a long, stellar career. And the crowd at Salernitana gave him a fantastic swan song or whatever you want to call farewell. Bayern's been doing it. Obviously, he was there for a long time. French Football Federation is doing it as well. I mean, he's an iconic player, obviously not just because of the look, but his talent, his skill, right? Being on that team with Zidane winning the World Cup, this young guy, and then emerging, he was this talent who could have had all his potential, and he became this guy who kind of led Bayern for many years. Him and Robben, fantastic player. He's going to be missed. Obviously, we saw some good things. His brief cameos in Serie A mostly with Fiorentina, and then also now with Salernitana last year. It's just sad to see him go. It's through injury, not on his terms, but what a fantastic player to see. I'm glad I got to watch a lot of him because he was fun to watch for sure.
Yep. Yeah, great career for him, long-standing career, and a privilege to have gotten him in the twilight of his career in Serie A, playing for Fiorentina and Salernitana. So definitely agree with you there. I want to talk about, with the problems that Juventus have had. We just saw 2 goals from Rabiot and we saw 1 goal from McKennie. And I think that this is the product of opportunity for players who get into those positions for Juventus, because with what they're doing formation-wise under Allegri, with Kostic being there as a wing back, with Cuadrado being able to play as a right wing back, I mean, that's just crosses galore coming in. And that's traditional and classic flank play. And So who's going to make the first runs in the box? Well, it's going to be the two forwards. It's going to be Vlahovic and it's going to be Kin, or it's going to be Milik and Kin. And clearly the emphasis is going to be on covering those runs when they make them. Now you have McKennie, who has always been a dangerous in the box guy. Rabiot has been a dangerous in the box guy. And I think this opens up for both of them to continue to get themselves in position to score goals. We saw McKennie do it here in Champions League today against Benfica. So I think those roles get very, very interesting, and it's something worth watching going forward. Yeah. You saw it firsthand when Kostic played as a left wing back at Eintracht Frankfurt, and midfielders had to be able to feast. I mean, guys obviously when Andre Silva was playing there, he was scoring a lot of goals on the end of those crosses. But when they were man marking Andre Silva, here comes Daichi Kamada. I mean, you're kind of seeing the same thing. You're kind of seeing in how Juve does attack when they go forward. You're kind of see them copycatting what Frankfurt did when Kostic was there. Are you seeing a little bit of that too? Because I think that this emphasizes a little more importance, and I think that McKennie and Rabiot could potentially have a chance to take advantage and get some pretty high goal totals for what their role is.
Yeah, and I think this would work. Unfortunately for Juve, it's maybe only tournament they're in, but Serie A. This works in Serie A. It works on a team against like an Empoli. You got guys like McKennie, who is a serial poacher in the box, where he'll make that run with the third guy into the box. He's excellent on headers. Rabiot is also excellent headers. So there's opportunity for them, like you said. And when you got a guy like Kostic who can get it into the box, those two guys can get up there and get their head on the ball. And absolutely there's a chance for them to take their opportunities. Now, should they be starting the midfield all the time of Locatelli, Rabiot, and McKennie? Probably not. But having two of them on at the same time, that can work. It's a situation with Kostic where even with Cuadrado on their side, they are playing a lot more flank passes into the box. That's why I also was harping on Moise Kean should get more opportunity, because he can make those runs like he did when Kostic found him for the first goal. Made that nice run that predicted the pass that Kostic came in. Kostic found him and he tapped it in. And having guys like McKennie who can come on, run into the box, or Rabiot doing his thing, you're going to get some goals that way. It's not going to be a long-term success by any stretch, but when you need goals, that's an excellent option to have, especially when you guys who can swing into the box like Kostic and Cuadrado and some of these guys can. So absolutely, and just wait till Chiesa comes back. You can have another option there. So yeah, it's an opportunity. It's not the solution.
Sure. I mean, but it's one way of doing things here for Juve going forward. So that's one thing that I definitely thought was an interesting observation that I saw from here. I think the other things that I want to look at, I think there's a better identity with Sampdoria. That was another talking point that I wanted to have here under Stankovic. I think
they wouldn't have won that without Stankovic.
What's that?
They wouldn't have won it before Stankovic.
Yeah. I think there's a toughness now to this Sampdoria team that's starting to show up. But kind of funny. You got to come to the Serie A sit down for the Calcio, because didn't we say this when Stankovic got appointed? He said, you're going to see a toughness. Yeah. The Crvena Zvezda teams played tough. Mm-hmm. They may not have been the most talented when you had, when they had to go and play other teams in Europe, but they gave you a fight for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to see the same thing. You're going to see this be a Grinta team. Stankovic is not a passion merchant in the way of a Simeone or a Conte, but he's going to have them putting the ball down and playing some football too at the same time. But I think that this ended up being a very smart hire by Ferrero, and I think that the benefits are known right now. They're still trying to get out of this, but through a couple of games here, having a chance to play Roma to a 1-0 defeat and then find a way to win this game against Cremonese, I think that Sampdoria is a team that we probably don't have to worry about for the drop as long as they keep this up.
Yeah. And sometimes with these teams, the new manager mystique wears off, but you hope with at least Sampdoria, it can last them through the season. And whether Stankovic, obviously if they finish the season and they end up, above 15th place. He'll probably get it'll continue on next year. But I think they can figure this out. There's enough good players on this team, and if they play the way Stankovic wants them to play, they're going to get results. There's enough bad teams in this league that they can nick some results. I mean, Cremonese, someone who should easily get over. Hellas seems like a team that you can not easily, but you should win against. Lecce is another team. Spezia and Monza, we're still uncertain, right? They played better lately, but it's another team that you could probably nick some points off of. So, yeah, there's some teams there that they should be ahead of, and long as they continue in this progression, they should be fine. So hopefully they do.
I think that they will get past Lecce and Spezia. I don't want to put them past Monza because I think Monza will stay up. I predicted that at the beginning of the season, so I don't want to quite do that. And I think Monza are talented enough.
I think both Ollie and Hamza bring a good point that Stankovic is very similar to Gattuso. Not so much a tactician, but they bring the grinta aspect, the hard-working aspect, and that worked wonders for Gattuso. Probably still does at Valencia. So, yeah, I mean, long as the team still buys in, they'll be fine, I think. Yeah. I agree with you.
You're going to be in for a fight playing against Sampdoria here going forward. I think that's the thing that you take away from what we see with Stankovic as manager there. So, what other notes did I make here? We talked about Loriente. Bologna, still, under Thiago Motta, it hasn't been great, but I mean, at the end of the day, if they look at if they survive, and they should, this is a game they're going to look at because coming into this, they were a point behind Lecce coming in. So to win this was important for them. I don't, they fought against Napoli. They had the draw against Sampdoria. Juventus, they lose 3-0. They had a stinker against Empoli. I mean, I still think with the talent that I still think Bologna have a decent enough team. They got gutted in the midfield in the summer. I think they got gutted in a couple of defensive areas as well. But I think that this team can still come together and do something to get themselves out of it. What would you say? What do you say to Thiago Motta? But that's the problem. I don't think a whole lot is different with Thiago Motta as manager of Bologna.
No, and what he wants to play is a possession style, overwhelmed with possession and getting work into the box. And it doesn't have those players at the moment. But he's got some good pieces there. And you got the current Capocannoniere leader in Arnautovic. You feed him the ball, he's gonna get the ball in the back of the net. He's a serial poacher. But there's enough little pieces there. I mean, Gary Medel's still playing. How old is he? Like 97. There's some little good pieces there, and Thiago Motta just has to find ways to get little results, keep it close, feed Musa Barrow and Marco Arnautovic, and you're going to get some decent results here, whether it's drawing big teams or getting results like this, winning 2-0 against Lecce, where maybe 2 months ago they probably want to win this game, under Mihailovic, but Motta has brought them something different. Now Motta is still to be determined because we saw what he did at Spezia and got fired from there. But again, he's a little bit more talented players here at Bologna. So his overall ability to draw plays and set up his team tactically should be much improved than it was against Spezia.
Sure. Empoli's on 11 points. Just got smashed by Juve. Next 3 games, host Atalanta, host Sassuolo, at Napoli.
Oh,
oof.
Hello, relegation zone again.
Yeah. I mean, so do we miss Andrea Azzoli yet if we're an Empoli supporter? I mean, they're still finding ways to win some games. They beat Bologna 1-0, like we said. But, I mean, you take a look at the stats in that game. Bologna dominated possession in that game, but leaky enough defensively. Milan, they lose. Okay, fine. Torino, they got out a 1-1 draw, but Torino had all the possession in that game. Empoli, clearly Zanetti obviously has come in here and said, our best chance is letting the other team have the ball and countering. We can't play football with any of these guys anymore.
Yeah.
Case in point, they had 58% against possession and they lost 4-0. when they allow the other team to have the ball like they've had in most of these games, Milan being the outlier. The Bologna game, 1-0 win. Torino game, 1-1 draw. Monza game, 1-0 win. I mean, do we think that this is good for Empoli to keep having to play survival mode football, or is the personnel just, what do we make of them? I mean, I wanted to start talking, giving some exposure to some of these teams here at the bottom, because there's quality in this team.
Yes, for sure.
And it feels out of place for them to be playing football like this.
It does. It's eerily similar to the year where they were playing. They're like, you know what? We're going to play attacking football. We don't care what the results are. And they got relegated because of that. And It's getting close to that right now. And I like Zanetti as a manager, but they're playing with fire at the moment. I mean, there's a lot of talented players on this team. Obviously, you have a fantastic goal in Vicario. Vicario gets to work on his craft because he gets 1 million shots a game. And so he gets a lot of practice. That's why Provedel was so good, right? He got lots of shots when he was at Spezia. So there's some talented players on this team, and even Destro, say what you want to say about him, he can score goals.
Yeah.
Razvan Marin is there. He's a good player. Parisi is there. I mean, there's some talent in there. And so they have to make a personnel move, I think. Who's available? Who can they get? I don't know. But as much as I like Zanetti, this is not going to last very long. The style of play they're doing, because I think you're right. The team is built for a counterattacking style. They have the players do that, and it also enables you to play more defensive.
I just don't think they're built to be. I don't think the personnel is here to build is built to play counterattacking football. And now they're going to play Atalanta on this.
But definitely can't defend. They need to be better defenders. They have the.
Well, they're going to play Atalanta this weekend, and that's going to be a fight over who gets the ball.
Yeah.
No, you have the ball. No, you have the ball. That's what it's going to be. I mean, neither team wants the ball. They both want to counter. So that could end up being one of two ways. That could end up being a very dull game, and there's an odd goal that decides it, or it could end up being tons of chances. So I was liking Empoli under Andrea Azzoli, where they didn't care and they moved the ball around. They kept possession. They used guys like Bayrami, and I thought that when Marin came into this team that would be an added element, but then Zanetti's come in and it's brought in a defensive style. And to Hamza's point, there just isn't – the players don't match what he wants to do. And then there's sneaking in some results here and there, but I don't think this is sustainable in the long run. So for them. And I think they're a team that, while it looks flattering right now, I think they're another team that I think Sampdoria can get past.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about teams that they can move past, Lecce, Spezia, Empoli are three teams that I think Sampdoria can be better than, can get past under Stankovic. So won't say Bologna quite yet, but getting pretty close. So, all right. Goals of the week.
Honorable mentions, Aina and a team goal by Torino. Jovic, his equalizer at the time. Those are honorable mentions for me. Number 5 for me, Kostic to Moise Kean, Juventus' first goal against Napoli. Number 4, Origi's first goal, very Balotelli-esque, standing, boom, top corner. Number 3, Brahim's solo goal. It was a nice goal. It wasn't as good as the Juventus one, but it was a nice goal nonetheless. Opened the scoring in that game. Number 2, I'm going with Icone, Fiorentina, with a second goal, made it 2-2 at the time. Wonderful goal by him. Wonderful assist by Kouame as well. And then number 1 is Ranocchia, his free kick goal from distance, top corner. No one's going to stop that goal, I thought. That was my number 1 goal.
Okay. Ranocchia's honorable mention for me. I thought Lautaro's first goal and the non-penalty is number 5 for me. I also think Aina's goal is an honorable mention, and also give the Nicolò Barella goal off some nice combination play as honorable mentions. But Lautaro's first goal for me is 5. Icone 4. Armand Lorient's goal is number 3 for me.
Yeah.
Brahim's solo goal at number 2. And for me, goal of the week, I said it earlier, Victor Osimhen. Just outpacing, fighting through, scoring a man's goal, burying it on the side netting. So that is where I'm going with goals of the week. So And now, and it's been a few weeks, and we apologize for the inconvenience, everybody, but we are now ready for the world's most popular hashtag game. It is time for Who Won Calcio Twitter. Richard, lead us off.
All right. First one was nominated to us by Apex, who's in the chat. And it comes from Martin V. Napolinissimo with
Man again.
Agnelli trying to enter into the Mbappe negotiations and get thrown out.
Bear with me. I got to look this up again.
No, I think the Warlord's record may have been broken. No redo since
Hang on. I'm sure it's funny. I got to look. Yeah. Okay. Nominating Napoleonismo.
Yep.
Yep. Oh yeah, the Royal Rumble where he got thrown out. Why am I? Guys, I'm not lagging. I just my somehow my Twitter refreshed and put me on this. All right. At the Real Panic FC, saying I want to help Juve fans.
It's the guru.
Sadhguru with a video, a 4.5-minute video on how to control anger.
Oh, good luck with that, trying to calm them down. Moving on, the next nomination comes from Paris.
Yeah, we don't need to watch that for 4.5 minutes, do we?
No, we don't. No. Next one comes from Paris Snitch. It's Tamori trying to get into the England squad and getting thrown out.
Yeah.
Especially after the
Pretty
Chelsea
much.
performance.
Okay, so at Vincenzo M1225, this is in response to Maxime Thierry. Welcome to the Europa League, Juventus FC. And Vincenzo says, no, you should be welcoming Maccabi.
Well, Max Aim Thierry originally said UEFA Europa League and had the logo and everything. So it looked like the official Europa League, but it wasn't. But yeah, it's funny. Maccabi instead of Juventus. It still could happen. It still could happen. All right. Moving on. This is during the live stream of Maccabi and Juventus, and she just mentioned that. And it's Janos with the Who Wants Calcio Twitter. Even though this is on live stream, and he says, Max Allegri, his comments after the game against Maccabi. It was a very high-intensity game. We played well against a world-class opponent, and we had our chances. But we were unlucky. We will work to correct the mistakes. My position is safe.
All right, so we've got at DC_Juventus, Allegri training methods unveiled.
Juventus, you see, that's good. That's
what
good.
are they doing?
I don't know. I'm not.
I don't have a leader in this clubhouse yet. We've got some good ones, but I don't have anybody nobody's standing out yet.
Let's see. So moving on. So originally Napoli tweeted out, Jesus is booked with a yellow card. And I got nothing. The Real Panic FC says, pretty sure the ref not knoweth what he has done. Juan
Wait
Jesus,
a second.
of
Where
course.
are you seeing that? I'm on...
I skipped Jerry.
You skipped Jerry. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's stuff we don't need to get into.
Okay. All right. I didn't read that one. Okay, moving on. We've got at Sarah 9778697 Vlahovic in front of net waiting for the assist. Quadrado with the ball.
That's pretty spot on, Quadrado right there.
Leader in the clubhouse, I think. That's a good one. Way to go, Sarah.
All right. This one comes from at Jordy FR98. And it's Feiner, Michelin, Lazio, and Sturmgratz all on 5 points. It's a scene from The Office.
All right. All right. Not bad.
Yeah.
Good creativity. At JP Uccello. And for the first time in history, Gazzetta has secured a rare photo of a jackass riding a zebra.
Oh, nice photo. Nice photo there.
Nice photo.
Okay, Serie memes in this one, and it's I forget what game this was, but it's Gasperini putting on his glasses, and it's Oh, I don't remember what this is about. I remember back when I saw this when this originally happened, but I don't remember anymore.
Okay, at Napoleonismo, Mbappe after first training session in Juventus.
Running away. Oh, that's good. All right. Alberto from All Juve Cast. Bremer is out for 20 days. Juventini thinking, all right, Gatti. And then Allegri thinking, nope, it's my man Rugani. Look at the turtle. All right.
Okay, so at Nemaser, only true Milanisti remember all this pain. The banter era.
Oh, we're not watching the whole video. It's a good 2 minute 19 video, but I'm not gonna watch the whole thing. It's funny. It's true. It rings really close to Frank and I, but very funny.
That's up there, though. That is up there.
It's up there. All right.
Okay. Johnny Rules 27. Company for erectile dysfunction called.
I realize the name of the company.
Juventus.
I see it. Juventus. That's fucking amazing. See, what I thought was just a normal erectile dysfunction advertisement. I realized the name of the company is, if you guys could see it, Juventus. That's fucking amazing.
So Gianni from the Calcio guys sees a sign for erectile dysfunction, and the company's called Juventus, which is it's hilarious. Can't make it up.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
All right. Where are we?
Okay, let's see.
Anthony, he says, it's Jerry. What do you think of the new tattoos with Wanda Nara?
Laying in bed with Wanda Nara.
Nice Photoshop, Jerry.
Yep.
Nice. Oh,
let's see. And then another one from Jerry. Sergei Milinkovic-Savic bossed Atalanta's midfield.
Why is he humping Darun, whoever that is?
Is that Darun?
I don't know who that is. It's one of the Atalanta guys.
All
right. Matteo Bonetti. It's Juventus with the 1-goal difference advantage over Maccabi Haifa. Same song we just heard. It's Allegri with his Dancing to the Stars appearance there.
So they did this little. What is this? And then he just walks down and
It's a dancing. It's a Dancing with the Stars.
Okay.
Yeah. Allegri thinking he's the top of the world.
I nominated that. I thought that was pretty funny. And then finally, Johnny Rules. We have to have it.
Come mai, come mai, la Champions League tu non la vinci mai. Come mai, la Champions League tu non la vinci mai.
Juventus are out of the Champions League.
I think that's just a video that just has to
be circulated every year.
Played every year when Juventus gets bounced from the Champions League. No, I think there's no avoiding that. Boy, we have a tough selection to pick from here, Richard.
Yeah. I don't know what the chat thinks. Some funny ones. Let's see here. The population grew to help Juve. Royal Rumble one was funny too. Quadrado one by Sara Juventus was good. It's pretty spot on. Quadrado.
Yeah, let's go with that one.
All right.
Let's go with that one. So I'm going to go ahead and retweet this. And if you want to say a thing or two to the people while I do that, you can.
Yeah. I want to give a couple shout outs here. First, I mentioned him early in the podcast. Uncle Sharma. Shout out to him. Great video he just posted out early this week about the pragmaticism in Serie A. Definitely must watch there. It's very interesting video there. And also want to shout out Patrick Kendrick, the voice of our intro, officially finally giving us the approval for his voice. So thank you, Patrick, for that. And keep doing what you do. You're awesome. But go watch his videos too on YouTube. He does some excellent videos. People have been asking them, what does an announcer do, a broadcaster do, a day of the game and all that stuff. People think broadcasting is easy. Podcast isn't necessarily easy, but broadcasting is even harder. You have to know your shit. And Patrick has a great video on his YouTube about what he does in a day and all the notes that he has. I've been fortunate to talk to many broadcasters, and they all have these cheat sheets with chicken scratch all over because there's so many things going on. Patrick's a little bit more organized, but great video, great follow nonetheless. So shout out to them.
Yeah, excellent. All right. And I think with that, we'll put a bow on this edition of Serie Sit Down. I like the Royal Rumble one. Oh, it's all right. Anyway, we'll put a bow on this edition of Serie Sit Down. You can find me at FTC_21. You can find Richard at R_KHARMAN, as you can see on our screens here. Serie Sit Down. We have our own channel on Apple Podcasts and SoundCloud. You can find us on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, wherever there's podcasts. There is Serie Sit Down. I would be remiss if I did not include the handle of our vacationing member of Serie Sit Down, Alex Dono, at Alex Dono, all one word, ALEXDONNO. So he will be back with us. I presume he'll be back with us next Tuesday. He's not taking that long a vacation, is he?
Who knows? Wanda, we got to look back at the contract we signed. I don't know.
Yeah, we got to go back and look at the fine print, I guess. Anyway, at Serie Sit Down, Twitter, Instagram. We're also on Facebook. Check us out there. There is a website in the works, Richard.
That's what I hear. What I hear.
Okay. We might be having our own website once we get that all tidied up and ready for the launch. We'll let you know where to go for that. So we will be back next Tuesday night, Richard.
Yeah, Tuesday or Sunday, either way. I'm
okay. We got to see what the third man's schedule is, and that's what we
not just us anymore. Not just us.
It's not just us anymore. Yeah, we signed him. We got to get him in on it now. So
more work for us.
All right. All right. So on behalf of Alex and for Richard, I'm Frank. As always, thank you for listening. Chat, awesome stuff. Great to have you guys chiming in and giving your 2 cents. Also, before we sign off, if you like what you saw here, please drop a like. If you want to know more, please subscribe. Hit the notification bell. You'll always be notified when a new video drops or when we are going live with this podcast. So please do that as well. It helps us out big time. So for Richard, I'm Frank. And on behalf of Alex, thank you. And be sure you tell your paisans about us. Ciao.